Are we up and running? Let's see. There's a good morning. Yes, we are. We're up and running, it seems. Good evening, good evening. Good morning, good morning. Okay, here we go. You know what we're doing here? Carving. Pick up exactly where we left off just the other day. Whenever it was, I don't remember. A very, very productive day yesterday. Nice day off. Oh, paper. Have I taken the paper out? No! What time is it? 8 o'clock. I better get up there. Okay. Ay. See, it's worth asking me still, because I do still miss it sometimes. Okay, take care of yourselves. It's going to take me about 1 minute up, 1 minute down. Back in a minute. Thanks, guys. Many thanks, mucho. Thanks. Caught one. Good, thanks very much. It happens now and then. All right, thank you, gang. Good. Every now and then, once a month or so, right? I don't remember exactly. Don't keep track of them. That's my exercise for the morning. Quick run up and a run down. So what's the schedule today? Today's Monday. Oh, no, today's Wednesday. I'm sorry. It feels like the first day back. It's Wednesday. Cameron should be here today. He was actually off yesterday doing family stuff. So I had the place to myself yesterday. There was no staff here. We kept the door closed all day. I had the place pretty much completely to myself. Got a lot of things done yesterday. Very peaceful day. Aoyama-san came over in the afternoon. He has some work to do. We're starting the plans for rebuilding the second floor. the area that used to be our shop. Up until we moved downstairs in July. So we're starting now to get the first plans done for that space. And he and I worked through a little bit of it yesterday afternoon. At this point, it's just pie in the sky. It's just chatting about how we'd like to use the space, how we'd like to use it in the future, what we can do short term, what we can do long term. So we made our first level short term plan for the space yesterday. And he's now going to go off and make some actual structural plans for building the different furniture and things that we need, getting the lighting set up and stuff like that. So sometime over the next, I guess, 6 weeks or so, we will actually do a bunch of construction now on that second floor space. And there's no schedule for it, but sometime this spring, we think we'll have a small exhibition space available there. And the biggest problem is access, because the access to the second floor is from outside the building, not from inside here. And if we do, well, not if, when we get that exhibition space set up, the only access will be from outside, which is not the way we want it, of course. We want people to be in the shop here, and we've got a sign or something, we put them upstairs. Hey, go upstairs and take a look at some of the prints on display upstairs. And the stuff upstairs won't be part of the shop, nothing for sale. There'll be no attendant, no staff up there. It'll just be a silent exhibition space. But that only works if the access is from inside the shop here, not from outside, where people are walking up and down without our knowledge. I guess that was her. I haven't been listening recently. I've kept kind of quiet about that. But yeah, that was her. She's still at it, clearly. Same shoes. I heard her go by yesterday as well. So, conversation. I'm missing stuff going by here. What is it? What is the white material on the wood? This is paper. I've stuck down a piece of paper here. That's what carried the design. I stuck the paper down and peeled it off from the back. The angle of the knife we're talking about, I don't know, straightly, yeah, okay. The carving angle we're talking about, it's simple. If you're carving a lot of curly things, we've got to go round and round and round and round corners. Let me find a place here. Then the angle of the blade, if you're carving curly things, the angle of the blade has to be more like this. More of an acute angle. See that I'm hiding part of the blade here, so leave the blade as a more acute angle. That allows you to turn corners easily. If you're carving mostly straight lines, then you can carve, you can sharpen the blade more of this angle. The one you see here right now is just basically generically in between. I do have a blade, excuse me, get in the microphone here. I don't actually use this much because I don't carve many straight lines these days. Here's a blade, this is carved, this is sharpened for carving straight lines. You can see there's no way, there's no angle on this thing at all. There's no way I could go around corners. And this one is used with a ruler to run down the lines. And so much of the blade stays in the wood that there's no way you can turn corners. It's a bit of a bastardized blade, but it works just fine. It goes on a ruler and it stays straight down the line. I'm not using it in this print. You probably haven't seen me use this for ages. I can't remember the last time I used this. It would have been the last time I carved a print that had architectural elements and stuff that had to be absolutely straight lines. That blade's been sitting in there for years untouched. So this is an average angle. Straighten it up if you're going to carve lots of straight lines, and make it more acute if you're going to go around a lot of corners. The remodeling, Jedson, it's the old shop space upstairs, the area that's in the middle of the second floor. Second floor now, at the very back, it's an office room. That's where Cameron and Kira-san work in their office. The second floor, the very front room, the one above my head right here, the old party room, that's where Dave crashes. That's my absolute, that's my room, that's my home now in effect. In the middle area on the second floor, the part that used to be the shop up until the time we moved down here, that's going to be a small, not sure what your word to use for it, exhibition slash gallery slash library space. We're going to display prints up there from our own collection, but not with any specific intent of selling things. We're going to rotate. We've got exhibitions planned. We're going to do an exhibition, if that's the right word to use for it, every 3 months. And we've got the concept kind of figured out. Each exhibition will be 10 items only. 10 items only, just numbered 1 to 10. And it'll be the spring exhibition 2019, 10 items. Then we'll do another one in the summer of 10 more items and stuff like this. And we'll have the physical exhibition laid out up there. And then we will also do an explanation PDF for the thing, and we will scan them and put them online. So the exhibitions will be for a year. They'll be online, they'll be viewable. We'll do a video walkthrough of each one. This is the plan anyway. And the space will be up there for people to go up and browse. And as I said a few minutes ago, the one problem we haven't sorted out is the stairway. We need to remodel the stairway so that the access is from inside the first floor shop. And actually that's the way the building used to be. It was constructed that way. It was a single restaurant. People came in the front door, and then on an internal staircase they went upstairs. And at some point along the way it was remodeled to give it outside access. They rented it to 3 separate people, and they give them all separate access. And we want to go back to the original style. And it's going to be an expensive remodeling, which we can't quite handle just right now. Jed's here anyway. Good morning, Jedson. My hand's always been this steady. Well, you're seeing it not specifically a real. My hands are at the moment, they're resting on the bench when I do this work. I mean, I can hold my hand freestyle like this, and it's fairly steady. But when you see me working like this, my hands are on the bench. They're flat, bang on the wood. My left hand is on the wood now, my right hand is on the wood. I'm pressing down into the wood. So keeping my hands steady while I do this work is really not a, it's not a factor. My hands are totally supported by the piece of wood. So this is not a show-off situation where, look, oh my God, his hands are stable as a rock. I'm working with my hands supported by the wood. So. a few things I had in mind. I'm supposed to show you something today. I know what it is. It's a sort of a show and tell today. And then over and above that, there's something else I meant to ask you. And something else came up. I found a link yesterday. I sent it actually to Cameron and said we're going to talk about it this morning when he gets here. But I can mention in advance of him getting here so you know what we're talking about. Let me pop up something here in a scroller at the bottom. Let me pop something up here. Have a look at this. I'll just keep carving, but you can have a look at this. See the word shares between alive scrolling there. Small words in groups of 3. Don't know if you've seen these yet. These are addresses, not internet addresses. These are physical addresses in the real world. There's a link there that explains what it is, what's going on. There's some people who are trying to work out a way to send and to communicate and to send addresses without involving postal addresses, without involving long strings of numbers, latitude and longitude. How do you tell somebody? How do you identify a location on the surface of this planet? And this could, I don't know if it's ever going to fly, but it could replace postal addresses. It could be anything for a taxi driver, for a package delivery, for and something on your iPhone, where to get to somewhere. Now, do I leave this as black? They kept it as black on the original, but I think I might change this to color. It's his underclothes, right? That's his skin color here, his arms. He's got an outer kimono. This might be skin color, and it might be some kind of a collar thing he's wearing, or it might be all underclothing. This one is clearly going to be a color. It's going to be a red, something like that. I think I'm going to take this out of here. I think I'm going to leave it as a color block. The problem, if I leave this as black, then we have to print the black key block on boxwood. Difficult to do smooth colors, and it means pressing quite firmly here. And I do not want to try pressing firmly right next to the mouth and hair. So this is going to come out. Cheaper alternatives to the paper that I use? No, I don't. Oh, no. When we were test printing, we used just junk paper, copy paper. When I sat down at the bench yesterday, when I was doing my test printing yesterday, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, I slapped pigment on the block, and to try and find out what level of pigment I've got, I just use a big piece of copy paper, slap it on, slap it off. But for the actual test printing, I need paper that absorbs the pigment the same way that our real paper does. I need paper that has the same tint and tone so that I can check what color I'm using. I need paper that has the same expansion coefficient so that I can test my registration. If the test paper is different on any of those things, if it's different on color, and if it's different on body, on how far it stretches and shrinks, then I can't do any test printing. So for me, I just use our real paper. I don't have any choice. At the level we're working at, we don't have any choice. So I don't really have any handy option for you. We would like to have some dirt cheap paper that we could use and just throw it away and do all our testing on. But no such thing exists. If the test paper had the same characteristics as our real paper, then we would use it. So this is not something I really have an easy answer for you. For our first test swipe to see what color is on the block, we use anything, just a piece of copy paper. But for the actual proofing job, we use our real paper. But I don't know, maybe other people here have some hints on proofing paper, trial paper, paper that somebody can muck around with and throw away hundreds of sheets while you still learn what to do. I don't know, I'm sorry, I have no handle on such paper. As I mentioned yesterday, I was printing. I spent the day upstairs on the 3rd floor. I took over one of the benches, the one that Kawai-san's been using to do the Hasui project. And I got a couple of blocks. And I got a little stack of 4 sheets of paper, 5 sheets of paper. I spent the day testing and proofing. Very interesting results. I'll show you in a bit, maybe when Karen gets here. What image, what block set? Oh, you should know, I think. It was good fun. It's a bit frustrating in some sense because I don't have my tools. We talked about this before. That I have my carving tools here, which have been by my side all these years. But since we opened the Asakusa shop, I bit by bit lost one by one all my printing tools. My personal tools, my barans, my brushes, all just became common property here, split up among the printers. And because they didn't belong to anybody, they belonged to nobody, and they weren't taken care of. And, I really now have no tools, so I just grabbed from the common stock yesterday. Tried to find some tools that worked fairly well. The bearings needed recovering, and it's really not good the way the workshop is using the tools here. Questions. Matt Brown uses the Western paper. He prints wet, of course. Absolutely, he prints wet. Damp like we do. Okay, questions. Yeah, it was the octopus testing. We'll show you. I was testing the octopus yesterday at last after all these years. What is the carving I'm working on? It's for my own personal printmaking series, which has been sleeping for a number of years. Back in 2012, was it? I'm not sure. Or 13, I can't remember, 2012 or 13. I started a print series called The Arts of Japan. It was supposed to be a series of 18 prints, of which the first 8 got made. And then we got sidetracked by this huge thing that we started up, this designing a shop and building a shop in Asakusa, Tokyo. So my collectors, the people who've been waiting for this series, have been patiently waiting for 4 years, nearly 5 years now. And the schedule here, even though it is still chaotic, it does seem that I can fit some carving into my schedule, because this year's series is now up and running. We have 2 other people working for us as full-time carvers now at last. So I can actually step back from the Mokuhankan carving a little bit and do some more carving on my own. So as a little bit of an experiment here, I'm going to see if I can get back and perhaps pull my own private printmaking back into activity. I'm not really sure about that. I'm not going to stand on the roof and promise to customers this will be ready in March or something. We're just going to try and use some of this time for getting back to Dave's personal printmaking projects and see if I can make it fly. As we mentioned the other day, I know I can get this carved because it's just simply a question of 90 minutes per day, a few days a week on a Twitch stream. And after enough days have gone by, bingo, you've got a block. But how I will get this printed is a different story. Because printing is not something you can do just 90 minutes a day. Not when you're doing an edition of a couple of 100 prints. You've got, 15 colors or something. So I don't know. Anyway, we're giving this a flyer to see if I can get back to some of my personal work. So long answer, short question. This is the next print in this series called The Arts of Japan, which is on my personal website. And the art being discussed on this one is calligraphy. There's somebody going up the stairs behind me. It must be Suga-san, I guess. Thank you very much for the reminder. She's working on JJ too. She's doing the printing on the ski image of the Japan Journeys series. Ishikawa-san's batch is nearly finished, and this is Suga-san. She's falling a bit, not falling behind, but her batch is coming second. Last month it was the other way around, and Suga-san got her batch of the first print, the Asakusa New Year print, finished first. Then Ishikawa-san followed. And it was funny, they were joking around with a bunch of it, and Ishikawa-san was able to take advantage of the fact that Suga-san had done hers first, and she was able to make hers a bit better. She was able to pick up some hints and a little bit different way of doing things, going because of Suga-san had already finished it. So this month, Suga-san said she's going to wait, she's going to back off. Ishikawa-san, you go first, and Suga-san will then have the advantage of being able to follow and not see what mistakes were made, but to see maybe a more effective way to use the blocks and stuff. So I can see where this is going to go during the year. Neither of them is going to want to be the first batch done. They're both going to want to sit back and let the other guy go first, test the blocks, work out the pluses and minuses, and get the colors all mixed and stuff like this. So it's sort of like after you, no, please, after you. And I can see where it's going to go. I'm going to have to just simply say, okay, that's it, month by month, take turns. Number 1 was Suga-san first, number 2 was Ishikawa-san first, number 3 will have to be Suga-san again. It's the only fair way to do this. And then our outside printer, Kanai-san, who works in her home in Nagano, she's doing the second batch. I think she's nearly finished now, finally. She's finished the next group of the first month's subscription. I think she said she needs more paper as of Wednesday or something. I think she's with us today. I don't remember. And none of these guys want to be first on these prints, because that's the part that takes the most time. And they get paid for it. They get paid for their testing time, of course. But it's not their character. It's interesting. For me, that's the part that's most interesting, is the test printing. But for them, that's the part that's the most stressful, because it's decision making. I'm ignoring what's going on here, I'm sorry. Sorry, I can't catch all the conversation here, excuse me. The octopus blocks are not, quote, finished, unquote. The octopus blocks are now ready for testing. And they were, I'll show you in a few minutes. I tested them last night. I got some nice prints. Are they saleable? Not yet, because I need to do some more touch-up carving. And, well, there's an issue. We'll talk about it when I get there in a few minutes. Yeah, it was Suga-san's paper and Lei-chan's paper this morning, so thank you very much. It doesn't matter whose it is, it's still dangerous. But Cameron is coming today. I believe he's scheduled to come today, unless he books in sick or something. So does Mokohankan work on a salary or hourly basis? We've got all kinds of stuff going on at the same time. Cameron is a salary man here, actually. He's booked. He gets a salary. It's fixed every month, and in return, he's duty bound to do a certain number of hours here. I forget the actual formula. It's a salary thing, and as such, he gets statutory holidays and days off and all that kind of stuff. Blah 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 blah. The people who are doing line work, production work, the people who actually make stuff here, they are on a combination. They are on piecework. The printers here, they get paid for the finished prints. When they give me a stack of finished prints, we add them up, multiply it by the rate for that print. It changes for every print. Some prints are cheap, some prints are expensive. They get paid per finished print. But we go a little bit different than that because they also spend time here. For example, we're talking about just now the test printing. Who gets to do the test printing? Who has to do the test printing? That wouldn't be reflected in the price of their stack of finished prints. If somebody has to spend a couple of days' work getting colors sorted out, and the other person doesn't have to do that, that doesn't make any sense. So they also have timesheets, the printers here. They have a timesheet where they include the time that they spend on workshop projects that doesn't get reflected in their total of finished prints. So at the end of every month, Cameron has to work through the timesheets, counting up both ways. He pays them for the prints they've finished, and he pays them for the projects they've spent time on, which don't get reflected in the print count. I'm not sure if I can make it clear. When they're cutting paper for making prints, of course, that's part of the print count. When they're making the actual prints themselves, printing color A, printing color B, that's part of the print count. But when they're doing things like doing test printing or recovering a barren that's going to be used by the other people in a workshop, that's workshop time, and they get paid by the hour for that. They just put it on their timesheet, and it's all added up at the end of the month. The carvers, we do something special. All other carvers here in Japan working in traditional carving get paid by the job. For example, here's 4 pieces of wood, here's your tracing, go to it, carve it, bring back the 4 pieces of wood. The carver then gets paid what is negotiable as a reasonable fee. How many days it took him, or how complicated the job was, or whatever. And the carver is then, this is the traditional way, the carver is then out of the picture. He's been paid for that job, he's gone. We don't do it that way. We, other than me who's carving, I'm talking about the way we pay the carvers who are working for us, they get paid a royalty basis. They get paid 16% of retail price for the first 100 sheets that go out, and 8% of retail price for all subsequent sheets that go out. And we pay them an advance on this royalty for the first 200 sheets. And it turns out that the way we've calculated it, that advance for 200 sheets for the carvers is pretty much about the same level of fee that a carver receives working in the traditional way of doing things. It's not exact, but it's very, very close. It varies up and down because when you do a royalty, it's dependent on the price that the print is being sold for. And the other workshops here who are selling things like limited edition prints for $500 each, they wouldn't, of course, they can't pay 16% of that to the carver. It just doesn't work. The downside of our system is that some prints are more popular than others. For example, when we did the Yokai Face-Off series, Kawasaki-san carved it. That still hasn't gone past the original 200 yet. It will at some point, but we still haven't sold the original 200. So she received the royalty payment that we paid her for 200 sheets, and she hasn't received anything else from those yet. But she is receiving, for example, royalty payments for the first portrait series she did for us. That's past 400 now. So she's just laughing every couple of months in her pay thing that Cameron transfers to her bank. It's bigger than she expected. So she calls up Cameron, what's going on? And he says, oh yeah, that's a royalty for such and such, such and such, such and such. And he prepares royalty statements for her, of course. And John-san, he's looking forward to some real things coming up. He carved the first print for Sushi Cats. And over the years, I'm expecting that's going to be a staggeringly good selling print. So he got his royalty for the first 200, but he could be living on that one for a long, long, long time to come. So that's production people. Then the other stuff, shop staff, they are hourly paid. They're what's called baito here in Japan. They keep a timesheet. They get paid by the hour. And of course, all employees, everybody coming to this building, we pay transportation expenses. That's how it works in Japan. I pay all commuting fees, train, you name it, whatever. That's paid by the employer. They do the time commuting. I do the money commuting. That's just the way it is. Oh, here he is. Here's our Eskimo again. Is it that cold out there, is it?
It's cold. Yeah.
Just in a short walk from the station?
Yeah, it is a cold day.
Is it much different up there in Modia compared to here? I mean, out in Oma, it's much colder than here in Saksa.
It's about the same, usually a couple degrees, or 1 or 2 maybe cooler, because the cities just tend to be hotter and a little bit more open space.
You have that same manga? It's taken you a week to get through it?
No. It's got 32 volumes.
Soka. I keep seeing the same one, but this is number 17, number 18, number 19. Okay, you got them all.
Yeah.
All right. Soka. So you'll see somebody on the train sitting next to you who's always there every day, and you think, my God, it's taking him a long time to get through that book.
Yeah.
Let me try sliding. There's conversation going along. I have caught tiny bits of it, and
Making
a lot
progress here.
Yeah, bit by bit. So. And a lot of help. I think people asking questions and other people asking questions.
Great.
How do you manage royalty payments after somebody leaves the company? Leave the company? Leave the company?
Oh, yeah. I guess not left the company, but our print party block person doesn't work here all the time, but we still send her royalties and stuff. So we just keep paying.
For Jed, for example, we pay royalties to Jed. So I was happy too. We pay royalties for the carvers. Jed gets a royalty, any designer gets a royalty, of course. It's nothing to do with leaving the company. It's, I mean, Johnson the carver isn't here anyway.
Yeah.
He's, whether he's legally an employee, I still don't know how that works out. Or whatever. Yeah. Anyway, should we try rolling this thing around? If we do these things, if I clamp tightly this plug in, we're going to rotate it. We may go down, just in the process of turning this computer around. If we go down, sit tight, it'll come back up. Probably. Those of you who are new here, the man you're about to see, this is Cameron, my right-hand man here, or whatever the job description is. Did we get around?
Looks like it. I think we survived.
So, good. Hey, there's an owl in the background. Days since last Owlson. I know. Yesterday, I kept notes. I kept a Tuesday note as to what I did yesterday. Okay. In fact,
I saw quite a few emails too.
I know. I haven't done anything this morning. I did stuff yesterday. I kept the precise in an email, which I can send you as soon as we finish up here.
I sent quite a few on the train. I got to sit down this time.
Oh, so so you've been working on it already without my note.
I only sent.
Well, switch up to the email program
to people's just, hey, can I be on the waiting list for Japan Journey, things like that.
Okay, I didn't touch anything in the subscription. Here, go to my mail. No, my mail.
Okay. Is it this way?
Up there.
Wait, there it is. Okay.
Go to draft. Oh no, here it is. I think it's here. Bingo. Okay. There it is. You're gonna send it yourself or read it here. That's. Okay. I don't think if you've already started mail, what would be conflicting?
I haven't touched that one yet. Your message.
So this one about this guy who paid for the box said I did process that one.
Okay, great.
So that Omi could send it.
Thank you.
So no conflict, it's okay? Yeah, so I should send you that note earlier then. Is that the idea before you get on the train?
Well, most days I just end up standing on the train, but it's pretty unusual for me to get to sit down. Okay, I'll send it over. Yeah, I think it's no problem at all. Okay. I just have to find the stream. Oh, there we are. Aren't you left-handed? Am I your left-hand man?
Oops.
Okay. Something like that. Oh, I got a message from Dave. An email. Okay. All right.
Solitudes again is waking up, isn't it? Really nice.
Yeah.
Nice, yeah. And do we have books? Because I didn't realize the next one was so close already.
Yeah, we've
we're on it.
We have 1, 2, and 3 done.
Yeah.
And then we're what is it? Tsushima-san is printing the covers, and so we're getting all the parts ready again for 4, 5, and 6.
So, but they haven't gone to the girls yet.
Right.
Okay, but it looks like we need number 4 in March 1st.
Yeah.
So it's only 6 weeks away. So okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure. Yeah. So it's over to you, but I wasn't sure where we were at on it. So.
It's all coming together.
Okay.
Making progress. No, my name is not Cameron James. Who's that? Please tell me his full name is Cameron James. I have no idea. Yeah.
You know, Howie Amazon dropped in yesterday afternoon. And, It was a good day for me yesterday. Nobody was here. Nobody. No printers, no paper out of the freezer, no nothing. What do you mean, what did I do?
No, I'm curious. Cool.
I spent the day in it upstairs there. And like I said, I got distracted a bit during the afternoon. Amazon came by, wanted to get the plans, work on the plans for the second floor. So no problem. So we got distracted by two things. One was the plans for the second floor. We sat down and drew some sketches and went back and forth and stuff. And he's going to move forward on it now.
Oh, great.
Getting that ready. So. But one other thing, when he was looking through the space up there, you know, we're trying to clean up the second floor first to figure out how much space. He found an old cardboard box there and cracked it open, and it's a microscope. So he brought a piece of it to me upstairs and said, Dave, what's this? I thought you had a microscope. And I said, well, I do, but there's a story here. And he got interested in this yesterday.
Okay.
And we've made some progress on this. And I nibbled on the stream about this a while ago. The scope I'm using right now is a normal, it's called a stereo microscope, actually. And it has two eyepieces.
Right.
And this is not like a medical microscope where you watch blood cells floating around. It's designed for doing things like looking at integrated circuits and things like that. And the long story short, it's a normal binocular stereoscope. On Yahoo Auction, it's a couple of years ago now.
Oh, I remember you.
A trinocular came up.
Yeah.
A trinocular scope came up with the attachments for a camera and stuff. And I gave it a quick test, and there were two problems with it. One was that the CCD camera that was included with it was just a black and white fuzzy 640 by 480 or whatever. Yeah. It's just not so much useful for us. And the other one was that the lens structure inside the thing was much stronger than this scope. And I couldn't see more than, like right now, people are looking right now, I don't know if you can see, that's the top of my view screen, that's the bottom of my view screen. I see a circle, can you see it there?
Yeah.
I see a circle based on, I'll try and go around the circle while I'm doing this. I see this circle underneath my viewfinder. So it's enough for me to see, I can see where the knife is going, stuff like that. In that other, the trinocular I bought, I can only see a circle about 1 centimeter in size.
Oh, wow.
Even when you know, make it the max.
Yeah.
So I can't use it because, you know, I move my knife and I can move it. You can't see what's coming up. It's impossible. So two things. I had to figure out how can I get it worked out with a better camera, and two, can I do some sort of lens swap between that one and this one to make it work better. Yeah. So Amazon looks at this yesterday. He pulls up the Japanese manual as well. He says, why don't you just unscrew the lens at the bottom? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he says, look, Dave, look. And he comes here. And it turns out that this one, I don't know if you can see it, there's a lens attachment at the bottom of this thing. And it dramatically changes. We take it and put it on the other one, and whoops, I can use it. So whoa.
Cool.
So the trinocular microscope now looks sort of usable for me.
Neat.
So I said, okay, have a look at that camera. He says, okay, Dave, I'm on it. So he spent the next couple of hours on Amazon and some microscope website, and he phoned the Meiji company to find out this and that. And we've ordered a mount that will go on top of that thing to connect the camera to.
Cool.
So long story short, I'm sorry the stories all end up being too long. It may be in the next streams coming up. It won't be tomorrow, please, but in the streams sometime in the near future, we may
mix things up.
We may have a different camera view. And that's another story too. Do I buy another camera and another video interface and run them both together? So you see this view and the view down through the scope that I'm seeing. At the moment, I've only got one video feed into the broadcast software.
And limited number of USB ports on this computer.
Yes. So anyway, the short term, the first test will be, we'll shut down the camera you're seeing here, and we'll replace it with the view down through the scope that I see, and we'll see how it works. It might not be interesting for people just to see the grime under my fingernails and the tip of the knife. I don't know. No, it might be more useful to see a wider view. So I don't know. We'll play with it anyway. Yeah. But I had to shake him off that because he got interested and started doing this. And 2 or 3 hours later, I'm like, "Oh, I'm son, how are we doing on the second floor?" And he says, "Oh, yeah, I forgot." oh yeah. Because he's the same as me. You know, he gets this little rag in his mouth and he won't let go, and wants to keep going till it's done. Yeah. He's a cool guy. I really like having him around here,
I said, Yama-san for president.
Yeah, well, no, he wouldn't be good in that job, but he's a good kind of guy here. Unusual in that you just give him the sniff of something, and he says, okay, keep out of my way, and he just goes for it and does it.
Yeah.
But everybody else here, the Japanese people, all of them will do wonderfully what you tell them to. And if you don't remember to tell them something, it doesn't get done. And, and if something comes along partway through, they won't. Whatever. Initiative is not highly prized in the national character here. And Aoyama-san just says, keep out of my way, let me get it done. And it's funny, he's not, of course, wasn't Japanese. So I wonder if that has something to do with it. But who knows? Who knows? So. Anyway, we're working on stuff.
Cool. How did you meet Aoyama-san? Korigami asks.
Came through Numabe-san. Aoyama-san came through, he and his wife both came through arts university. They met in an art university. And he still, at the end of the day, thinks of himself as a creative, conceptual artist. Mm-hmm. It's not stuff that really has much relevance to what we're doing here, but that's what he thinks of himself as. Mm. And unless you strike it big with some gallery or something, you can't make a living as a conceptual artist. So he needs a way to make a living, and it turns out he's a handy guy. So he somehow got in touch with Numabe-san to do work as a printer training or something, And that didn't work out, or he didn't want to sit down making 200 copies of the same print or something. I don't know the background. But the point was, I had been asking Numabe-san, do you know anybody in your network who could help us work on building some boxes or cases? This is about 10 years ago. Yeah. Boxes for one of my sets. And he said, oh yeah, there's this guy who's been fooling around with printing. He's pretty handy. Yeah. So he recommended Aoyama-san came over, and the rest is history. Cool. He and I, in the Ome workshop before we had a Saksa, he built, together with me, we together built a sort of an assembly line and built a bunch of boxes, and we did a real good job of it. And I learned quickly it was good to have a handy guy out there who I didn't have to explain everything to. Yeah. But then once the box job was gone, he was gone. But when it came time to start building this Saksa shop in 2014, I remembered him. I got in touch again and said, can we have a lunch meeting? He said, yeah, sure, what's going on? More boxes? He said, I'm not sure if I want to build more boxes. And I said, no, this is something a little bit different. Mm-hmm. I told him plan for Saksa. We need to build a shop over the 2 months. It was in September and October of 2014. Yeah. And he said, sure. And
he's been helping out ever since with all sorts of projects.
It's good for him. He doesn't. I've offered him full-time employment now any number of times, and he says no thanks because he wants to do his own stuff partly, and partly he doesn't perhaps think that we have the stability to be something he'd want to hitch his wagon to full-time. I don't know what's inside his head. Or his wife also doesn't like me so much, so that may be a reason that she's told him, don't tie yourself to that place too much. Interesting. But there's as much work on offer for him as he can possibly take. He knows that it's an open offer, to be a full-time employee or to do whatever he wants to do, write his own ticket. But he still wants to do art. Yeah. And at his age now, it's not going to happen, but it's not my business to say that.
Someone said, I got my first Japan Journey print in the mail today.
I got a couple of too, so they're arriving.
I'm so glad they're arriving.
Yeah. And I'm also starting to get emails, where is my, and they're in the second group, and has it shipped yet or whatever. And there's a couple in the mail here today.
Yeah, I've seen some. I said, we are shipping them.
But there's also some people that didn't get a bill who it seems should have. There's something that was skipped for some reason. I put it in a letter to you. Okay. They're in there, everything looks normal, but there's no invoice on their account. Okay. They're marked as active. And I screwed up some of those when there was personal prices. If it was an older person restarting and personal prices didn't have a price for the new series, then they'd skip billing. Okay. But this is new people who joined. Yeah.
I wonder
and I checked
how
the
they
PP
got
file.
skipped.
I don't know.
Marked as active.
I don't know. Yeah, so it's active and it's a PP file. So. Okay. This custom software, you don't trust that guy who wrote it.
Don't trust the driver. The one running it.
What's our time schedule here, sir? I got a little bit of show and tell.
Just shy of 9 o'clock.
Okay, let's look at the show and tell. Okay, can you... Okay, because this is erotic work we're going to show now. We're going to show something which is no longer just a bit of fuzzy blocks. This is the actual print.
Finished print, how?
So if those of you who might be upset, we're going to show you something now, which is a woodblock print we've been making for a couple of years, if you don't know the project that's been going on. It's a woodblock print related to an octopus and a young lady, and it is erotic work. And if this is likely to offend you or bother you, then please maybe just take a break for 10 minutes or so or go somewhere else. This is the print we're going to show now. Here we are. And these are the first proofs, and these are all over the map. What I've done with proof printing, the goal of proof printing is to try a bunch of different stuff. Yeah. I have an image in mind of what I would like to do, but when you're proof printing, you do some lighter, some darker, some in between. You try on some junk paper, you try on some nice paper. Yeah. So you're not going to see a finished product that we are ready to ship into the market. You're going to see the first test proofs. One of them is on Corso super thin Gampi paper. This was a paper test more than but it actually has a kind of a neat, it's plus minus, I don't know if you can see it. It doesn't take good, rich, deep color, but it really has an old-fashioned feel. Of all the different tests I did yesterday, this is the one that looks most like the original in terms of mood and feeling. It could be that maybe this is what we should publish instead of printed on deep, thick, rich Hochschild paper. Am I zoomed in or zoomed out here? Okay. Let's get. Okay, here is test. This is actually sheet number 5. This is a test of a super thin Gampi paper that we might be using to make some of our prints on. And as you heard me talking to camera, it doesn't make thick, lush color, but it makes a real nice mood feel. And here we are. This is the first one you've seen of our octopus print. So for today, no idea. Now, a couple of things. There's another version of the octopus print on the market now. I know Shimoi-kun, young Shimoi-san, who works here from a little house out in Kamakura, has got his up on the market. And we linked to it the other day, and he's done something very, very different from us. He has tried to make what he calls a replica. The original print was a double book page. He has issued his on one sheet of paper, but as a double book page. There's a gutter in the middle. He's done the left and right in different colors, as they are on the sheet in the British Museum. The British Museum sheet has misregistration of the octopus color on the right-hand side. He has replicated the misregistration. It's got some broken lines. He's replicated the broken lines, and I really don't want to do it that way. We've made it into a single image. But part of the downside of making it into a single image like this is it's, well, let me show it, for example. If I show you this one. This is the one I did in the deepest, richest tones here. Have a look at this.
It looks so much richer in real life, but the camera is not picking it up as well, it seems. It looks somewhat better. Just seeing it, the real thing looks so much richer. But
it's rich, but it's also sort of too clean. It's really, really too clean. I have mixed feelings about this now. You know, it's a beautiful print. It's carved stupendously carefully. The colors are printed all carefully. The registration is pinpoint perfect. But it kind of looks too clean, you know.
Yeah.
There's a real mood here that they should be messed up a little bit and a bit more vibrant. I don't know. This is one of the things about replicative printmaking like we do. Tends to be clean and, quote, sterile. The modern printmaking where the guy hacks at the board with his knife all by himself is vivid and alive, but technically awful. And our job is to do the replication, but by doing so, sometimes it's a little bit sterile. Anyway, it's actually, it's really, really well done. I said at the beginning, am I ready to mail this? No, because there's a couple of things. One is I screwed up a little bit. When I carved the over black block for the hair, as part of the carving for that black block, let me zoom in a bit here. Some of regular Twitch viewers saw me doing this on the iPad, and you have to cut slices out of the black block to leave the under gray block showing through. And this is what gives the body of hair its fullness and texture. And I cut those a bit too wide. When we compare with the original, do I have it here? No, it's upstairs, I'm sorry. Anyway, the original, the lines are closer, they're messier, but it looks more natural. I've cut too clean and too far open, and it may be, we're going to think about it the next few days, I may have to recut the hair block. You know, you're looking at this now, you think it looks okay, but if you see them side by side, you'll see quite different. It's quite totally different. And it's not only as it's too white, it's also made her hair look lighter. It looks like she has more white hair instead of a rich, dense black. And then also I did double hair layers. I did the light gray underneath and the top one on top to sort of show off, and it's no good. it shows off really cool. Dave's so good at this, but it makes the faint hair too black. And I've got to cut those back to leave more of the actual gray hair, grayish hair showing through. But oh my God, it's here. It's up and running, and it looks pretty cool. As I said, we do some variations. That's one with a fairly deep background color and deep and rich green on the seaweed stuff. Here's one which is wimpier. The background color is deep, but the seaweed's wimpier. In contrast, it doesn't look so good close up here. And then here's another one that's in between. The seaweed's a bit darker. I just took the same blocks and just tried variations of pigment. But it's really interesting. The one that is printed the most messy, which doesn't have good rich color, which is it's actually a bit misregistered because the paper was so thin I had real trouble holding it onto the block. This is the one that seems to have, to me, more life and interest. We're going to explore this. We've got, Roxanne wanted me to test this paper for me, see if it'd be useful. I looked at it and said, "You got to be joking. That's not printmaking paper." She said, "Just print it. Just print it.
Just try it."
So,
and now you like it.
Well, I don't like it. It's really difficult to use. Before I could put it on the block, it was wet, and I couldn't put it down. I couldn't hold it, so I had to get a sheet of what is it? A
Plastic or something?
I literally had to get a mylar sheet and support it each time I put it down onto the block before I could get it to hold, because it was just too. This is thinner than a Kleenex, freaking Kleenex tissue. I get my Kleenex paper here, which is thinner. I don't know. It's close. It's a touch and go, you know. But,
But can you get away with an inlay in the existing hair block, or will you have to use
it's too much. No, it's okay. What I will do, it's okay. On that block, we have the octopus eyes, we have the black dots in the seaweed, and we have the little octopus eyes, and then her hair mask. And what I'll do is I'll simply get another piece of wood. I won't inlay anything. I'll just get another piece of hard wood. And actually, we're in luck because it's right next to the registration marks in the corner. So I'll get a small piece of wood and just recarve the hair again, and then we'll just print it from that block. And once I've done the testing, chop it off that first block. So there's no dramatic stuff. In fact, this happens all the time. You might carve a new piece of wood, and you don't have to carve it. Suppose I had broken that eye or something, for example.
Yeah.
You don't have to go back and carve all her hair again because that eye's broken.
Yeah.
One you can inlay, or one you can just use a different piece of wood. The lettering on our current Great Wave print, remember I borked the way that I did the inlaying, and it's okay. We now have a separate piece of wood for that. Yamamoto-san prints the lettering after everything else from its own single small little piece of wood. It just became another block. Also, for a test, I did a proof of the key block itself.
Yeah.
Close up and zoom in. Can we get a zoom in?
Koryugami has an interesting comment. It says, surprised to see the lady seems to be floating here. Is it wanted, do you think? Would a darker gradation behind her help ground her, or?
I don't have the original here to show. So when you look at this one here, that's what I said. It's a bit sort of, I've zoomed out and zoomed in, so back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So the blue of the outside here runs around her and runs underneath her. So there's no support for her here. And this goes back to that question of, is this picture supposed to be out in the open air on the rocks, or is this supposed to be happening underwater on a group of rocks that is in the water? Her hair does seem to be floating along. Yeah. And this is an open question, and we've as we were carving it, this question came up time and time and time again. She seems to be floating. Yeah, well, that's what you happen when you start doing things like this lying down underwater. You float around. So I don't know. I don't know. Another thing too, remember the lettering is not present here, and all the way along I've been having in my mind that we will do this in two versions. We will do a version without lettering as just a clean image, and then when I get to it I will carve the text that goes along with it. And having seen it now without lettering, it does look too simple and too exposed and too clean and too empty. And I think that may have been a not such a good idea, and I think it may be that with the lettering is the only way to go on this. Carve the lettering and then issue it that way. So these things I've got to think about over the next few days as I decide how to move forward with this project and what to do with it. there's people asking us now to get this to market. There's the other boy, Shimori-san, his is out on the market now.
Yeah.
At a kind of ridiculous price. It's like $300 or something.
Yeah.
Ours is going to be, I think it's going to be around $125, $135. You know, I mean, it doesn't need to be any more than that. So we'll see. I've got to think about this. Any feedback or comments or whatever are welcome. What exactly I should do with this? Should I make it in different versions, or should I nail it down for one version and just go for it, or what? We'll see.
She's on a beach and those are waves or something. I don't know.
I really don't know. It's not clear. I know when I have seen this image over time, I have always thought about it as her being on the rocks at the edge of the seashore. You know, those are rocks that are exposed to the air.
Yeah.
But when you look at it, those are all like little sea anemones that would flourish under the surface of the water. This is at the seashore, obviously. I think it's tidal zone stuff. Those rocks covered with seaweed, they would be covered at high tide, exposed, covered at high tide and exposed. And the actual moment of us seeing this, which way is it? I don't know. It's an open, interesting question. So I don't know.
Would the print work in a vertical format? Like portrait style? I don't know.
I don't think so. You can hold it up if you like to see what it looks like, but I don't think so. Anyway, I had a most pleasant afternoon going back in time to pretend at being a printer again. So Twitch didn't shut us down now? We got
Not yet. We got someone yelling TOS, I think, terms of service.
As in, seriously? Or
I don't know. So TOS LOL, and then someone said, not TOS. So, we aren't shut down yet.
Is it porn or not? I don't know. You know, what's porn and what's erotic art is in the eye of the beholder. I do understand that Twitch is a family platform and that we have to be careful with this stuff. At the moment, our channel is not marked for mature audience. It's just an open channel. It's not marked as an NSFW channel. So I get it. And when we start to do production printing on this, I think I probably should do most of it off stream. Because just seeing that image again and again and again and again and again probably does contravene the terms of service, I think. I'm not sure.
Someone here is saying it's absolutely fine according to the terms of service.
But again, it's your definition. There would be people, you know, there are people whose kids go on Twitch and to watch stream. My grandchildren are on Twitch all the time, watching different gamers and stuff. They follow a link, and there it is with this. And their parents, you know, my son-in-law would probably be upset if he knew that, you know, Andre is watching this. So I get it. In my own family, I get it. So I don't want to be put in the situation of having people exposed to things that they might really not want to see. I'm not ashamed of making that print. I'm not worried about it at all myself. But if it's in a situation where other people who can see it who may not like it, then I have to respect that viewpoint. We won't be putting it in the browser bins in the shop here. We'll put a note up on the wall saying, do you know about Hokusai's famous octopus print? If you're interested, please ask the staff and they can show it to you.
Yeah. Mudabori Ningen says, it's not fine by TOS. Actually, I was banned from Twitch for 3 days for carving a block of wood with exposed breasts on it.
Really?
So, interesting.
But had they found out? Somebody complained? Or what was the, what happened? You know, tell me more, because this is of concern to us.
I had 0 followers at the time, so it was probably easy for Twitch. But
0? Well, wait. So somebody complained? I don't get it. You say
one of your 0 watchers at the time complained about it, or how did that happen?
That doesn't make any sense. So.
Interesting. Yeah. That's too bad.
I think at the moment we're looking on a don't ask, don't tell. If I specifically asked Twitch, can I do this? I think they would have to say, no, I'm sorry, please don't do it. You know.
So I had watchers, no followers. Got it. Okay.
Oh, I see. Okay. And it could be right there tomorrow, this morning. Perhaps somebody's already sent in a complaint, and I might be in trouble already from what we just did just now. I don't know.
It's safe to say that the octopus print will not be replacing one of the banners in the doorway at Mukuhankan.
No. It's not for everybody. No. I mean, my mother's sitting here watching. She's not really happy about this, of course. She's not against sex as an idea, but she would say, probably if she comes up and says it belongs privately, between a couple. It's not something that really should be exposed too much publicly, I guess.
I remember you saying when you first started on this block that it was a wildly different, or I don't know if wildly different, right? But very different cutting into boxwood versus
Well, yeah, I broke
cherry.
the knife. How long did it take? It took me about 10 seconds to break the knife.
Yeah.
I haven't broken it since then. That was a wake-up reminder. Aha, Dave, remember this. It's a different feedback system. So I think for the next couple of days, I was really gun-shy. I didn't want to go around a corner, but I'm bit by bit, I'm getting a feel for it. I don't want to talk about it because if I do, I'll break the knife again. But yeah, you get used to it. I mean, I do have a lot of experience, and once I got that little wake-up call, I realized, okay, Dave, pay attention, and feel the feedback from the knife, and you're okay. There really is no excuse for breaking because you can feel the tension and the stress. You can feel, oh, here we go. I can go that far, not farther. I just ignored my feedback that time a few days ago. Now it's just pleasure. It's like butter. It's like cutting butter, hard butter. And if that makes any sense, what I mean is it's got the smoothness of butter. The inside butter, there's no hard spots on the soft spots. A piece of butter or cheese, whatever. For example, a piece of cheddar cheese, whatever. You slice it, slice. There's no hard, soft. And in our normal cherry blocks, there's grain and there's hard spots and soft spots. And this boxwood has an absolute minimum of that. So when I say it's like carving butter, that's what I mean. Your knife just goes into it and slices through. It's really hard, but there are very few surprises inside it. It's not 100%. We had one the other day when I was here. Down here there was a knot. And this is like a rock. It's like a stone buried inside it. It's just part of the wood. There was a knot there. So it's not 100%, but as a piece of organic whatever goes, it's pretty consistent. Very cool. Like carving butter.
Butter straight out of the freezer or something. It's hard.
So got more news. I know the computer news. I went to Akihabara about lunch break yesterday, and back up, baby. Aoyama-san came just before I went to lunch.
Okay.
And the timing was perfect.
Okay.
He came and he was kind of apologetic. He said, Dave, I know something I'd like to do, but it might sort of screw up your plans. I know he wanted to take the monitor off your desk and take it home. One of his kids is doing a computer thing. They need a monitor.
That's fine.
But he thought we were sort of really using it intensely all the time. So I started and said, you want to take the monitor? Tell you what, if you take that monitor, that means that for Kira-san's work doing the flea market scanning, we don't really need a laptop. What if we got a computer that had Photoshop on it and Final Cut Pro on it and moved it up to Cameron's workbench up there, and she did the scanning on it, and I went to Akihabara and got another
one of these.
So I did. So you that's going up. Well, as soon as it's going to be delivered this afternoon, your job is to unpack it, put it here, and you then have the latest. And you'll need to update FCP because there's a free update that's come down the pipe since then.
Excellent. Then that'll make video editing a lot easier.
Have I just changed your life,
that'll
sir?
be wonderful.
Just changed your life. So.
Thank you.
So you don't need a bonus this year.
Sounds great. Got a new toy to play with.
So I'm really glad, because I was just going to get busy to Akihabara to go out and buy a laptop for her when he showed up and gave me that news. And he was apologetic because he thought we were depending on that thing. You've just made my life so much easier. You made Cameron so happy,
Yes. Perfect.
So you have a cutting edge Mac with
All right.
Final Cut Pro, latest version on it.
Excellent.
Get to work, sir.
Not gonna learn Final Cut Pro.
And then when I went to the used Mac shop in Akihabara, this time I didn't look at the laptops at all. I went straight back to the back of the room there. And I looked at a couple, I got the specs. I called the guy over to check some of the specs, and he said, fonts, show.
Yeah.
I said, yep, it's because of the fonts. That's why we want to. But we don't do, if it's just for the shop, it doesn't really matter actually about the fonts. But I'm still nervous about that, so I got one that would run 10.7 still.
Oh, okay. So it's an older machine.
Yeah, and also just cheap, 25,000, nothing.
Wow.
But we may have shot ourselves in the foot there, now that I think about it. After I came home, I thought, Dave, you're still doing this thing where you want a machine that'll run the old fonts. But because it's 10.7, it won't run the newest browsers.
Yeah.
And what we have to do down here, customers want to do browsing all the time, to check stuff, Google Maps and things.
Yeah.
So I may have shot myself in the foot because it won't run the newest JavaScripts. Anyway, we'll see. It doesn't matter. How many old machines do we need? But anyway, starting this afternoon, you will have. It's up to you. Get it upstairs yourself.
Sounds great. Yeah. Ken Hallett says, "Do you have to pay those goofy monthly fees to use Photoshop in Japan?" Yeah, it's the same
We've got a
system as around
subscription,
the
yes,
world.
of course, except it's more expensive than in the West. Yes.
Yeah.
It's goofy monthly fees, but they provide us with a service that we use to run our business. And also, I'm not adverse to paying for the service we get. Making this switch from a boxed set we buy and use for 8 years without paying anything to a subscription that we pay every year has been whatever, bite the bullet. But we use the thing every day, and it helps us. It's a tool. If I had to rent this knife, suppose the blade makers switched to a business model where they refused to sell me the blades.
Yeah. Just a subscription every month. I'll send you a new blade.
That sounds a bit funny. Okay, whatever. But suppose it turned out that the only way the guy could make a living was there's so few people buying this product. Dave buys a batch of new blades every 10 years. The guy can't wait 11 months of the year for my order to come in.
Yeah.
If it turned out that me renting the blades from him was the only way that this could happen, it's not a simple question. It goes back and forth and back and forth. And for me to rail against Photoshop, they'll only do it by subscription. That's a bit hypocritical because, as you know,
much of our business runs on
a huge amount of our business, and now growing daily, runs on subscriptions. And we get asked, Dave, just sell me one. And I'm adamant that I will not do that. And there's two reasons behind it. Partly because the printers make basically regular batches of prints, and if we sell just the popular items, we're out of the popular item and we can no longer sell the set. And the easy answer, okay, just reprint it. We don't have enough printing staff to be able to do that sort of thing, to reprint the popular ones endlessly. And the second is the business model. By doing it by subscription rather than just single prints, it stabilizes my income to the point where I know there's going to be money in the bank to pay the staff month by month by month. And this is new for me, having that stability, and I like it. I can sleep, the staff can get their mortgages, they can have babies, they know they're going to be, paying their way.
Yeah.
And our print subscription model has put us in that position. So I know some of the customers want just that one print or just the other print. But I'm sorry, to be in a situation where staff can have mortgages, I'm not saying loans, but you see what I mean, where our staff can have a normal life is really kind of important to me.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I guess it's the same thing for Adobe. They're trying to stabilize their business.
Yeah. So didn't you have a stable income while doing the 100 Poets?
Yes, and it was by subscription because starting in 1989 when I sold my first print, since that time I myself have never, ever sold a print other than through subscription. For 25 years, starting in 1989, I sold prints only by subscription. And I got sometimes at the exhibition hostile. You won't sell me. Oh no, Komachi, it's on display. You've got to sell it to me. I'm sorry, sir. What's on display is a subscription set. Please put your order in. The guys storm out of the gallery. This happens sometimes. So what's new for us is that in addition to subscriptions, we also have single prints.
Yeah.
The Mokohankan shop here is full of single prints because we recognize that it's a product on the market. People would like to have that particular image. What we don't do is we don't mix the two things. We have lots of single prints and we have lots of subscription prints. Please make your selection. The little print I'm carving right now will be the latest in my subscription series called The Arts of Japan. And it will only be available through that subscription.
And if I remember it, you are not taking new subscribers for that series right
now? No. This, I'm carving this right now, but we were talking about this before you got here. Am I actually going to be able to sit here and print it? A couple hundred copies. Am I going to find that time? So I'm not at the moment promising to the world, Dave Bull, back in business, put your orders in, line up on the left here. No, I am just going to spend some time doing this and let's see how it goes.
Cool.
And if the staff here can take care of work to the extent that I can get away from Mokohankan enough to do this, then yes, I will then open it up for orders. But it would be ridiculous for me to promise that at this point, because all the indicators say, This is the third week in January, the slackest time of year. 6 weeks from now, it's going to be freaking insane. Was that Audrey's son? So she was on?
Yeah, she's bringing out the flag and I think probably putting her stuff upstairs. That's a question.
That's a question. Yeah, look at that. Wow, haven't heard that in quite a while.
What do we have?
Do you know where to find him?
Yeah, there it is. Here you go. It's getting to a point. Dave needs a little ticker in the corner. It's paper status out.
Oh yeah. That was a few days ago. That won't be. That'll be from a few days ago.
Oh yeah, that is from a few days ago.
I heard nothing. It's in. Open the triangle.
Oh, okay.
You're not in there. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Sorry. I thought I knew where it was. Okay. Here's another one. In an interview you gave, you said the reason Japanese printmaking appealed to you more than Western printmaking was the philosophy underlining it. It wasn't trying to convey any message beyond the art on the paper, whereas European prints were religious, satirical, political, etc. in nature. Could you elaborate on what you meant by this? European artists were still artists and appreciated visual aesthetics. Thanks.
Okay, sure. I mean, we're hugely generalizing here, so give me the benefit of the doubt that this was part of a conversation that was speaking in very general terms. And in general terms, for the Japanese printmaking back in the Edo time, there was no political motivation at all. That wasn't even permitted.
Yeah.
They were decorative objects with no sense of let's change society by using these objects. And it was very common in the West, not 100%, but very common, for prints to be things that carried a political message. Sometimes it was absolutely overt, political down with the government or whatever it was, whatever.
Good morning.
Or the Jin Lane stuff in the Hogarth environment in the West and stuff. So to an overwhelming degree, printmaking was printing in the sense of, like, let's publish books and let's tell a message and let's tell a story and let's show something that I want to tell the world about.
Yeah.
Of course there was some decorative work also that was just look at the pretty picture.
Yeah.
But so the conversation that this person must be relating to was one in which I was saying that the two worlds were really quite different, and that what attracted me was the attractiveness of the physical object, not so much the activism behind it. And in my personal life also, even though I was a quote hippie, unquote, growing up in Vancouver in the 1960s when Greenpeace was getting started and stuff like this, I don't have an activist streak in me.
Yeah.
I don't have a, you should do it this way, it's not good for the planet. I don't have that in me. I have thoughts and ideas, I think about such things, but it's just not in my character to be a activist or prescriptivist. What's the word? I want to tell you how to do things, And in my own writing too, if you went back to, for example, my A Story a Week, there's 500 little mini essays / stories / episodes there.
It's like a preacher, you're not.
And none of them is there. And the moral is, none of it works that way. It's just simply a slice of Dave's life.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about this particular picture right now. It's a slice of a little bit of life in 1775, two boys cleaning an inkstone.
Yeah.
Morning, Shiba-san. Now, maybe I'm abrogating my intelligence by doing that. You know, I should be activist. I should be trying to change Japanese society for the better. I don't know. Just that's not how I see myself. And that's the background to that specific. I must have been in an interview and I was saying these sorts of things in that interview.
Yeah.
And I still do. I know Japanese printmaking in the traditional form was decorative. I know the Hasui prints. Is there a social message there? I don't think so. It's that we shouldn't have power lines. I don't know. You tell me. You know, it's a pretty object. There's enough room for that.
Someone asked, how much do you earn from one carving? Is it possible to answer that? Someone gave, I think, a decent answer here, saying, I don't think you can possibly answer that since each print has a different number of carvings used, or different number of blocks in production, different number of times.
Okay, but there are numbers we can put. I'm not getting paid anything because it's not, you know, I can't legally be paid by this business. If it becomes a company, then I will have to charge the company for doing this carving. But I just gave you the numbers. I said we pay our carvers. For the first 100 copies, they get 16% of the retail price.
Yeah.
And all subsequent copies, they get 8% of the retail price.
Yeah.
Sushi cats, Chonsan carved sushi cats. Once it's out in the world, it's going to be $150 on Jed's website.
Yep.
So you can work it out, what we have already paid Chonsan. Yeah. And it took him, 6 weeks to do it. So he actually didn't do so badly on that. Actually. And he ain't over yet. He's going to get paid more. So
yeah. As it sells more and more, then we continue. We keep track of all of the
absolutely. So
all the prints, how many they're selling.
Which reminds me too. I know this month on Kanai-san's payroll, there are going to be 2 portraits.
Because of
I don't know. Yeah, that used to be Yasui-san had that little journal.
She still has these subscription-related ones.
So she's in touch with you each month on that. Okay, good. Yeah. I was a little bit afraid it might have fallen through the cracks.
Kawasaki-san was the carver on at least some of those.
Yes, not all but some. So.
So she's been keeping track of that.
Okay, good. Yeah, I thought so, but I wasn't quite sure.
Cool. And it is 9:30, in case you're wondering. I don't know if you're in charge of...
Actually, I'm getting I want to carve these lines, but okay, I don't want to rush. So let's say that pretty much. What's today? Today is Wednesday. I'm confused what date it is because of all the quietness yesterday.
Yeah.
Today's Wednesday. I will be back here tomorrow, same time, same station, almost certainly sitting here in this exact same seat, carving that exact same line, 22 and a half hours from now. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks very much. I've enjoyed this today. Mix of chat and work getting done.
And show and tell.
Yeah. Sound is off, Cameron-san, please.
Right.
See you tomorrow, guys. Bye-bye. Thank you.
See you later.